What is up, and welcome to day 100. We're going to talk about drug-induced psychosis today. We're going to talk about spiritual awakening. We're going to talk about a lot of things. If you've been following along for this journey, you'll know that day 100 is a bit of an arbitrary number because it is neither been 100 days since this journey started, nor have I made 100 videos. Less than 100 videos, more than 100 days, but that's just semantics. Let's not worry about that. What I do want to talk about is how this journey started. So 100 days ago, roughly 100 days ago, I was at a all new rock bottom. And it wasn't the deepest, darkest rock bottom I'd ever been at, but it was just like, I'd had so many false starts and, been like, this is the time where I'm going to make it happen, and I would do whatever, change my diet, change my exercise routine, just do whatever it was that I thought was going to be the game-changing factor, and then I would plow forward for an undetermined amount of time, and I would always get off track, lose steam, something would happen that would I would regress. And it was like years and years of one step forward, two steps back. And it was fucking brutal. And I was just determined that this time was going to be different. This time I am going to enact change in my life permanently and forever. And the first thing I knew that had to happen was I needed to fix my gut problems and stop wavering from, stop eating things that I'm just brutally reactive to. Allergic's not the right word, but would have negative reactions and all this inflammatory response. And so that's exactly what I did. I set out to eat an absolutely strict whole food diet, exercise every single day, and just, stop doing the things that were causing these minor regressions, and then I would lose hope, and then, I would just be 3 weeks into eating shitty again and not doing the things I needed to do, and it would just be like I was starting from scratch all over again. So I set out to do that, and I was really nervous because it was going to be, 100% sobriety and, avoid alcohol or any sort of stimulants or depressants or anything like that. But during, 30 days into this, I went to the Shambhala Music Festival, which is, a festival, like an EDM music festival, pretty much completely designed around the idea of, enjoying psychoactive substances. So I knew was going to indulge a little bit, and I was really scared because in the past I have gotten on track, been working out, been doing everything I needed to do, gone to a festival, and the massive just attack on serotonin and my neurotransmitter system took its toll, and I would, basically regress back into, I'd have to start all over again. I would eat bad and just do all the things that would lead me to this super inflammatory, depressed state, and I'd be starting from square one. I was really scared this was going to happen because if, you were there for the beginning, or if you rewind to like day 30 or whatever it was when I left for the music festival, I was at like the peak, or day 37 or something like that, the peak of, kind of feeling that I'd been at for years. And I was, really worried that I was going to go backwards. Well, basically, fast forward to going to the music festival, and I had this insane revelatory experience where me and this old friend of mine hadn't seen each other in years, and she showed me so much love and gratitude, and at the same time that she elevated my frequency into this like vibratory hum of gratitude and love and joy. And she showed me for the very first time in my entire life that you could not only do that to someone else, but that, I had never experienced this before and had never like really loved myself, because she showed me so much love that I realized for the first time in my life, that I didn't show that same love to myself, and I treated myself much more harshly than I would ever treat another human being. And so that was, for a myriad of reasons, really, you know, mind opening and eye opening, I should say. And so the next night, I did a mammoth amount of ketamine, like an irresponsible amount of ketamine. And basically, in this moment, I was sitting there, had just taken a large dose of ketamine, a re-up, and I was sitting at the stage looking, and I was surrounded by all of my friends, and I realized really intensely, like, wow, like, we are all one. We're all the same. We're all family. And I've been living in isolation my entire life, just completely separating myself because I thought I was unworthy of love. And in that moment, when I realized that we're all from one thing, one being, and one creation, it was just really obvious, and you could feel it in that moment. I didn't know it, I felt it, and it was intense. And I was filled with that same feeling of just intense gratitude and love and joy. And in that, I just had this open heart, and I just said, I'm ready to give me the knowledge, tell me what to do. How do I, escape the cycle that I'm in? And it was like a hole ripped open in the universe, and every single bit of knowledge on earth was beamed into my head in one time. It was so overwhelming. It was really intense. It scared the shit out of me. And afterwards, it felt like the moment in a movie after a bomb goes off and it's ringing and everyone is dazed and confused. And I saw clear as day that I would, if I didn't learn the lessons, if I didn't learn the truth that I know at the core of my being and live my own truth, I saw that I would have to live this cycle of pain and struggle a million times over, a billion times over, for that it could happen forever and ever and ever, and I could be stuck in it until I learned the lesson that the world was trying to teach me. And it was so scary. I didn't know what was happening or why. I felt like I was in an actual drug-induced psychosis. I didn't know whether or not the whole world was a simulation, whether anything was real anymore. It was like almost, I could totally see after having this experience how a person could have a schizophrenic break. Because I was like, there was a minute for, a while afterwards where I was like, is this whole world an illusion inside my mind? And did I think this all up? True intense psychosis. I could see how someone could have, an event, a drug related. This is the first time I've ever had anything this intense happen, but a drug related event, and then, never be the same in a bad way again afterwards. I think it's something very much worth respecting, especially, if you are prone to, familial mental illness, as I am, by the way. I do have severe, mental illness on both sides of my family in different ways. So maybe it's a risk, but it turns out, lucky for me, it was one that ended up being worth taking, because the next day was the first time in my whole life where that narrator in my voice was just silent. I didn't have fear. I was just happy to be where I was. I wasn't worried about what other people were thinking about me or what was going to happen next or anything, because I knew to the core of my being I felt to the core of my being, rather, that wow, we are all of one thing. Where, you are me, I am you, whatever that realization is that people have at some point, hopefully, during their life, where they, I always have thought that, but where you really feel it. And then not only that, I was like, wow, I have this, task that I have to overcome, this truth that I have to live. And then the whole world is kind of mine. I kind of get, as far as, all the fears and worries and things I have, I was like, this quest that as long as I go on it, then I don't have to live this cycle of pain and suffering. Because as soon as I saw, it's been a rough journey with the paralysis and all of the pain and everything that I've gone through, and I've, often questioned why things happen and stuff. And when I saw, like, you are going to experience this amount of suffering and pain in a million different ways, not exactly like this, but with, in lifetime after lifetime, and family members dying, and things going wrong, and failures, until you learn this lesson of, living your truth. You're going to have to, as soon as I saw that, suddenly the fear of, just being able to be completely myself was washed away, because that was so much scarier. That's a way, just an eternity of, getting as close as you possibly can to having your dreams and everything come true, and having them ripped away over and over and over again because you're not getting it. There's a lesson trying to be taught to you, and you're not listening. You're not really getting it. And for everyone else, it's different, I'm sure of that. But if you don't start listening and start paying attention to what these events and things going wrong and why things aren't working out, if you don't start paying attention to it, you're going to miss the joke. You're going to miss the punchline. And it's catastrophic consequences if you do, in my opinion. Well, anyways, so after this, go back to go back to Florida from British Columbia, where I live now, not in Idaho. And it has just been, but basically I was fluctuating between the happiest I'd ever been, the first time I've ever been truly happy, and the most intensely miserable that I've ever been, because I was so far removed from the life that I knew I could have had if I had just lived, with values and intention and truth, and done what I was supposed to do, and if I had paid attention and listened to the lessons. So it was like, because sadness and depression is when expectations don't meet your reality. And now all of a sudden I saw what I was able and allowed to expect to happen in life versus my reality, what I was living, and it was just so disparate and so far apart. It hurt like a motherfucker. I mean, it was really intense, and I was having trouble going to work, and I was having trouble, reconciling everything. I mean, it was like this kind of like post-traumatic stress feeling of just being like, I've gone so far off course. How do I correct this? And luckily I started, on this fateful morning, a couple days into being back from Shambhala, I did a breathwork session where I listened to my friend Johannes Egberts, Hans, his breathwork session, which is on YouTube, called Beyond Love. And I listened to that in the sauna. And I just, right after I had watched a video about Carl Jung and shadow work in the shadow, and I realized that I'd just been suppressing and killing this part of myself, forever. And I had just been constantly living in shame and guilt, and that, then that started the whole revelation of the, emotional hierarchy of shame, guilt, whatever, fear, anger, pride, courage, all the way up to happiness, gratitude, and bliss, and joy and things. And that just broke me open. I mean, it literally was like, it felt like someone, like I was a glow stick almost, like someone just cracked me open, and like now there's light inside. And it was just incredible. I mean, it was literally the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. Not just that singular time, but, meditation after meditation, these deep breathwork sessions that I enjoy doing in the sauna, just started to get everything flowing again. And I realized that my entire energy system had been inverted for years, for basically my whole life, that everything, that the shame and the guilt, the bottom of your chakras or your root or whatever it is, the shame and the guilt was so strong, rather than everything being pulled up and out and through me, it was like a star collapsing in on itself, a vortex in the wrong direction, and I was silent when I should have spoken up, and I was speaking when I should have been silent and listening, and everything in my life was inverted. I did all things backwards because I was acting from this deep place of burning shame and guilt. It was sucking everything in, and I had to turn it around and force it back out the other direction through, first off, just self-compassion and fucking humor. Just relax, bro. You stop taking yourself so fucking seriously. Stop having such insanely high expectations for yourself and just relax. Our purpose on earth is to enjoy it, is to learn how to be in a state of gratitude, bliss, joy, appreciation, and wonder all the time. That is the set point that the world, or whatever it is you believe in, the universe wants you to get to. It wants you to be in constant wonder and bliss and joy. That is actually what is wanted for you, and you deserve that, and it's yours for the taking. It's right there all the time. You just have to shut off that narrator inside and let it in. Whatever it is, just shut off the narrator and let it in, do its work, and relinquish control. Surrender. And that has been the summary of the last, 100 days of my life, and what I've learned and why I've learned it. And I just hope that someone else out there hears this and pushes the fast forward button on self-compassion, on forgiveness. Stop taking yourself fucking seriously. Stop worrying about what you're going to accomplish or how you're going to accomplish it. All of the bullshit that you hear from fucking business gurus and people on the internet, just shelve it and learn how to be happy right now in this moment that you're living. Maybe you're ready to just shatter your entire life and go in a different direction and pursue your dreams relentlessly and everything, but maybe not. Maybe you have to keep going to work and paying bills and supporting your family and, living inside a character that you've created through pain and suffering and doubt and fear that you now start to not align with and identify with. Because that's what I realized. I was like, wow, this ego that I am, literally through shame, fear, guilt, and anger, has gone through the world and created a life for us. I fucking don't like this life. It's bullshit. I don't like selling insurance. I don't like not having enough money to take my family on fat, dope vacations whenever I want to. I don't like not being able to surf every day and do whatever the fuck I want all the time. I don't like this, and it's possible. That's what the world wants for you. It's what the universe wants us to have. Everything that our heart desires, create heaven around you. That is what is the natural progression and order of things if you're not inverting your energy. And so, yeah, maybe you are living in stark contrast to, what your actual deep self wants. That's because your ego is creating shit. It's a construct. You're protecting this thing, this, being, this non-being, this image of a being that your actions and beliefs make into a reality, and it's not you necessarily. It's really not, but yet it feels like the most intense fear ever when you do something that is going to compromise your ego. At least it is for me, and compromise what people think of your ego. It is the most intense, life-threatening feeling when I think of doing something that is going to completely shatter the way that people look at me and how they think of me and who I am, even if that thing that I'm thinking of doing is way more in alignment with myself and who I actually am. So, but it shatters the construct that I've created, the belief that people have about me, and it's scary. It really is. But you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to start progressing towards it. It's not like I've made it anywhere. I just woke up from a sleep, and it's like I've just been in a fucking nightmare for 31 years, and I woke up and I'm like, holy shit, what is this, and where am I, and why am I here? Like, let's get the fuck out of here and just start living in perfect congruency with my deepest desires, which is, family and fun and happiness and humor, and everything else. Fuck it. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go live inside, the life that my pain, shame, fear, and guilt has created for me. I'm going to go sell health insurance in a call center, essentially, to basically just call people all day who are getting bombarded by other desperate insurance agents, and make the world a slightly exactly the same place as it was before. I don't think I'm making it any worse or any better, just statically existing, which is probably, the worst place to be as a human. But this is the bed that I made, and I have to sleep in it for a while, and that's all right. Because if, one thing that I've really learned is that if you can't be happy doing something you hate, then you just can't be happy. Happiness is 100% a skill, and just like any craft that you work on, there's tools involved and learning and different methods, and everyone has a little bit different way of doing it, but there is kind of one agreed upon outcome that we're all looking for. And it's a skill. You have to hone it. You have to work on it endlessly, and there's no better time to work on it than while you're doing something that you hate. It's easy, to be happy if I'm out surfing or exercising or hanging out with friends or at an amusement park. That's cake. It's not about just finding a way to do exactly what you want all the time for the rest of your life, despite the fact that I think our entire generation thinks that's what the definition of happiness is, and it's absolutely not. Happiness is working towards some super critical growth that your spirit is meant to have, and it's working towards living your own truth and constantly being able to raise yourself up through those different emotional states, starting with shame, guilt, anger, fear, all that bullshit, and raise it up out of those survival emotions into something better: courage, pride, love, and ultimately gratitude at the end of everything. But all right, that's it. I'm gonna go sell insurance. See you guys. Happy day 100. 100. I feel like I said that weird.